So that contractor will take that, they execute. So the payment schedule is on there. I give them one payment when they start the project. So contractor signature on the contract. They start the next day usually. They get an auto credit into their account. So we ACH the money into their account, so they have it that day. Start buying material, demo, dumpsters, things like that. Now on the contract, it's very specific when they get their next payments. Their payments might be based on Ocean City walkthrough. It might be on because there's no permits. Say there's no permits because we're doing just cosmetic paint, things like that. Well, I can't hold them accountable for a final sign off because there isn't one. So I say an Ocean City walkthrough, an acceptable Ocean City walkthrough. So I walk through, they've done a third of the scope of work, or they've done every item on there a third of the way. That's fair. I'll give them 30%. And we do that going through. So I call them site walks or contractor walks. They're just, again, terminology that works for us. It's just something that happened. But the contractors also know what that means. So they go, oh no, I gotta get 8 guys here tomorrow because Calvin's coming or Jim's coming and on Thursday. So I need to make sure we're at that point. We can all say everyone has best intentions all the time, and I hope that's true. But when you hold a date to them and they know you're walking through and they know what you're looking for, a lot more gets done in those few days. It's funny how that works. So
what's the saying? You inspect what you
expect.
Right?
What you expect.
Yeah.
Right? If you inspect what you expect, that's fair to everyone. So by doing this over the last number of years, we started doing it this way. There's a lot less conflict. No one's upset. I was upset yesterday, to be honest. I called Calvin, and I don't really.
All right, Jim, this is not a therapy.
I didn't know, but this is something to like.
I can already see where this is going.
Yeah, this is going. Well,
we don't need to burn 5 minutes right now.
We are, because I don't really get upset anymore. I don't, because we have our systems, and if you don't follow the system, you're a contractor and you don't hold up your end of the bargain. You don't yell at me. Don't freak out like that. There's no reason to do that. I don't pay you, and I move on to the next contractor because you didn't do the work, so I'm not paying you for what you didn't do. And the expectation is so clear on that, they don't even get mad anymore. Because I don't use that contractor, I'll never use you again. That's how I do it, and it's cold, but you have to run a business. So I reached out to a guy yesterday that told me a project was done. I went there at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I drove an hour and 15 minutes to look at it. I got there, there's 3 guys working. He's close to done, but he's not done. He asked me for the final payment, and he was pushing me for the final payment. So I went there, it wasn't done. He goes, well, yeah, I'm not gonna get the final payment until tomorrow. I said, don't ever ask me for money again until it's done. And I got really upset because that's lying. You're lying, it's not done. And that's an expectation you have to set, because now that's not gonna happen again next week. If I gave him that money, next time he's gonna ask for the money last week and say, oh, yeah, next week. And if you let a contractor get ahead of you, I don't care how close you are with them, they're not gonna have the motivation to finish.
Yeah, we've had all sorts of things happen in crazy stories where contractors get ahead of us and then they have the money and then they use it to start another business or, I mean, am I wrong? I mean, just crazy things. I mean, could go on and on about that, but the reality of the situation is that a lot of people can't handle money. Like if I give one person, you guys have, I'm sure have heard, most lottery winners, like they lose their money within a certain period of time, right? It's no different with contractors in general. I mean, some people can handle it, but a lot of people can't handle excess money. And again, Jim said that the phrase, like people go in with good intentions. Hey, I started another business, I'm gonna have even more money. But then they, that business fails and now they don't have the money to finish our job.
Yeah, so I would, and that's why I said that, because I don't really get, at least I don't think, I don't really get upset like that anymore. But I was upset because that contractor knows, he's been working with us for a few years. He knows the process. He knows the system. He knows why I can't release that money. And
yeah, go ahead.
So he knew what he was doing.
Jim, we got a question.
Sure.
Alice, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I use contractor, right? But sometimes they need the material up in front, so they ask for a payment. I typically give them half at the very beginning before they start any work, so they can get the material. And then I pay them second half final. don't cover anything, they don't get sent. How is your payment?
So her question or statement was, when she uses a contractor, she gives them 50% upfront and then 50% upon completion of the job. Am I right? Yeah. So, and that's how we do it. So that's reasonably common. I will not do that, because I fear and I know that most contractors can't manage their money, and I hate to say that in a blanket statement, but I've never met I call pickup contractors, like a pickup truck van type contractor that's doing their best, good person, working hard, trying to support their family, that isn't gonna take that money and try to leverage it. That's gonna try to run multiple jobs to get better. So what we do is that first payment ranges between 25 and 30%. And the reason for that is because if you dig down, you drill down into a contractor, most of them, that final payment is their profit. So let's say, so that budget, and that's why I try to do a fair budget. I do a scope of work, it's fair. I grew up in a very blue collar family, and people work very hard to support their family. You need to give them a decent budget so they can have a livable wage and get better. And if you don't, they're never coming back, and that was a failure for both of them. So doing that, they get 25, 30% up front. That allows them to get their dumpster, some material, pay their staff for a week or two, and get things going. Now, most of our flips are small projects that we're in and out of there in 2 to 3 months. So that first check payment should really stop the job, get people going. Any subs that they need, give them their first payment for any of those subs, and everyone's off and running. That's how we do it, and then I give them bite-sized pieces until the project's done to help with their cash flow. Because I want to help them to finish the job as much as they want to finish it. So that we pay, something that we do that's a little unique from a lot of developers or contractors or anyone else, we pay on Tuesday and Thursday. So we pay twice a week. If you let me know Monday by 12 o'clock that you're due for a payment and we've inspected that and we agree, I'll have that money in your account by the time you wake up on Tuesday morning. Not a check, it's in your account. Same thing on Wednesday by noon, that'll be in your account by Thursday morning when you wake up. And that's something that allows them to manage their cash flow a little bit easier, but limits our risk. So that's how we do it. You know? Yes.
Can you speak what insurance you require your contract?
I didn't speak that. So what insurance do we require? So workers' comp, so let me preface this by saying we're not a general contractor. We're essentially the homeowner, okay? So we have our insurance on our side, we have our maintenance policy, et cetera, right? But the contractor, we're still requiring liability and workers' comp. That's what we require. And the dollar amount for if that's what you're asking, the dollar amount that's on there really depends on the project. Like on a fix and flip, $1 million in coverage, which is standard, is fine. It's fine for all of our fix and flips, for 99% of them. And then when it's a higher requirement is for some of the bigger projects we'll talk about later, that $1 million won't cover it if they were at fault. So those change on the larger projects. Yes.
What's your outreach look like as far as aiding the contractors or general contractors that you need for a particular project? And how realistic is your budget that you attract a decent one versus someone that's going to do shoddy work?
So if I understand this question correctly, is what is our outreach for contractors, and is our budget appropriate basically for them to do quality work rather than shoddy work, right? So I'll answer that, let me know if I did it correctly. So we have a core group of contractors that we try to maintain. We use them. We keep them in a geographic range that works for them and their business and their family. And we are always top rated. So your bottom contractor that gives you the 80-20 rule, your bottom two give you the most amount of pain, what's time to top grade. So on our outreach, like in Connecticut, we've added 2 contractors in Connecticut in the last month because our business in Connecticut has picked up significantly in the recent past, and the people that we had out there can't handle that volume. And they say they can, but I can see they're going to employ, so they can't. So we still keep those guys busy. We add new. So, and how do we do that? We go through a few different ways. Something common that I've done and that I do, social media. One, just throw it out there. You'll get a ton of responses. Good, bad, and the ugly. What I found more effective is to ask I'll go on a job. Let me preface this by saying, I will never steal someone's subcontract. Won't do it. That's like the kiss of death in this business. In my opinion, is that ethical? Don't do it. So you'll get a reputation that you don't want. But I will go out, I'll talk to my contractor, I'm like, you have a plumber, an electrician, whoever else there. You do a ton of work for John. Who else do you work for who do you work for in Worcester? Who do you work for in New Hampshire, Maine? Because I know this guy doesn't go there. Who do you work for there? Think, oh, these two guys are great. You mind if I give them a call? No, and then John's gonna be, what do you mean? I go, you don't go to me. You don't go to New Hampshire. I'm keeping you busy in Worcester. So that works out well. I ask the subcontractors who else they work for that they really like. And that's helped. Social media helps. Other investors. So we do a lot of flips. A lot of investors will do 1 or 2 a year. So they can't keep their team busy throughout the year, and they don't want to lose them. So they can refer. I can keep them busy, but they'll still be able to handle, the other person 1 or 2 a year, and it helps them grow. You're helping a friend at that point. So we do a lot of that, and then worst case scenario, I go to my vendors. So whether it be Home Depot, Lowe's, your lumberyard, your window vendor, your roofing supplier, ABC supplier, someone like that. Who are your busiest 3 roofers that buy material from you? If I need a roofer, that's what I do. Home Depot, stand at the pro desk. You see 6 knuckleheads, lack of a better term, and then the one person that seems to have their stuff together and is a little stressed out and pretty busy, that's the one I'm going to talk to, and then I'm talking to the person who runs the pro desk after I got their card. How are they? Basically, you're gonna read that pretty fast because they know we buy a lot of material, so they're gonna give us a good recommendation. I think that's probably the easiest one. If you go to your local Home Depot or Lowe's or vendor and say, who are your top 3 contractors that do carpentry and paint? And they'll give it to you, that's a good fit. Usually in that area, because they're shopping at Home Depot, which is more of a flip level, right? That's what you're looking for. If you go to that high-end lumberyard, you can find a framer. Other than that, that's not the price point we need to be at for flip.
And I'm just gonna add one more thing, again, related to the inner circle, right? We're also a resource for people that are in the inner circle. And I'm thinking of an example, Jay, you reached out to me, what was it, 6 months ago, a year ago, and you said, hey, do you know anybody who can do a job? What was it, multifamily? 2-family where? 2-family in Danvers, I need someone to help me out. I reached out to Jim, I go, Jim, do you know anybody? He said, actually, my father's really slow right now, and he might actually be willing to do that project. I'm assuming it turned out, decent.
Thank God.
For what you wanted, yeah. I mean, it is dicey handing out recommendations because you never know what's gonna happen. I mean, in this case, obviously, this was a very close referral. But we took the social risk and it worked out for both parties and Jay just brought us potentially a deal that we could work on together with him. So that's just kind of the stuff that we do. Like, again, you guys don't have to learn all this stuff on your own. You don't have to find, contractors on your own. Like, we can help. If you're in the inner circle, we can't run your business for you. But in that example, it was like the perfect storm. You needed somebody, his dad, how old's your dad?
He'll be 74 next month.
His dad's 74, still likes to keep busy, but can manage projects like that. And he said, yeah, I'll do it. So,
Yep.
So, we talked about this fund. My brother and my father, we keep talking about them, but they really don't work for us as contractors very often at all. Maybe like 1 project a year each at this point. And the reason is, the real reason is I push too hard. And I know that, like, my father I'm very close with, very, very close with. And my brother the same, we're like best friends, right? And I always want to keep it that way. I put them in a contract, it worked. So if you are gonna hire a family member or a friend, like one of my best friends is a HVAC contractor that does a lot of work for us. He's in a contract, he doesn't get paid until it's done. It doesn't matter if he's over with the kids for a cookout, it doesn't matter, and he knows that. So if you're gonna push hard, like I drive, I definitely am a driver on a job site, you have to be. And you have to set proper expectations, so when you're pushing really hard, they know that. You can't surprise them, you can't be like, oh, no big deal, and then yell at them because it's not done. That's not fair. So they know I'm driving from day one, and I didn't want to do that to my 74-year-old father that's looking for, work a few days a week and do some small projects. We're turning 100 to 130, 40 deals maybe this year, a year. That's like 2.5 a week. So if I'm turning an entire house 2.5 a week on regular, we're moving fast. I don't have time that, someone had a doctor's appointment. I don't mean to sound crass by saying that, but this is a business, and I need a contractor that has, 7, 20, 32 full-time people that can run 4 jobs at a time. And if there's not someone at that job, I have a problem with that. I need every job to be moving every single day. And that's something with your contractors. If you give them, say you have 2 flips, you have an apartment turnover and a flip, right? Those are both money makers for you. If you have one contractor, that's fine. That contractor, the expectation has to be, in my eyes, those are 2 contractors. Each project is moving at the same pace. If it's not, I can give it to somebody else. That's the expectation I set. So when there's no one here that's saying, oh, you told me I had to have that apartment ready by the 1st. Yes, I did. Didn't mean you took all the guys off the flip. That doesn't work for me. So you have to have them moving at the same pace, and I'm painting myself to be a little bit of a monster here, but it's a business, and you have to drive that.
No, I know, but as you're saying that though, I think at the end of the day, it's not about that part. To me, it's about a win-win,
Yeah.
right? How do both sides win? And it's fairness, right? It has to be fair to both parties. If we're talking about a win-win, we keep our contractors busy, we pay them twice a week, we have all these benefits of them working with us, well, then they need to honor the other side of that. And that's how you run a business, period, right? You create, great working relationships where both people are benefiting. And, to flip it right around on you, how many people do you know, and I don't even want you to answer the question, but how many people do you know that hire a contractor then don't pay them? Or then, try to cut their pay or try to get them to do extra work. So it's about being fair. So you guys have heard a good amount from Jim so far. How many people would love to have Jim as a resource on a construction project with them? So you guys actually can. And I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about the inner circle a number of times. What were you gonna say?
I said the calendar looks like it's gonna fill up.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
you can. And so at the end of the day, I told you guys my story. We're not done with the construction part, but I just want to talk really quickly about this because it's the right time. I talked about the fact that in the beginning I was scared. It took me 6 years to do my first deal because of the fact that I didn't have a construction team. I partnered with Bill and his dad to be able to have a construction outlet to let me focus on the sales and marketing. You guys can all try to be a jack of all trades. You can. You can try to absorb everything he's saying, but the reality is that you're never going to be really good at, construction if you're also trying to do acquisitions and be an agent and own rental properties and finance them. Like, you can't do everything well. And within my company, we have so many different people that specialize in different areas. So you guys are here, right? Because you respect my opinion and you believe that by coming to this, we're going to give you great information and help you. The best way that I can say to help you guys is not to try to do everything yourself. It's funny because as much as like some of the people that are close to me are, and they reach out to me and ask me for help, some people just flat out don't listen. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a funny story just to illustrate that point. So our photographer who photographs, every single one of our deals, he's a young kid, really nice kid, hardworking kid. He reaches out from time to time about investing help with me. So he reaches out and he says, hey, can you help me with short-term rentals and learning about subject to financing? Does anybody here know why that might be a little bit funny? And it's you're laughing. Why is it funny?
Well, you've been a lot on social media about that.
a lot of negative, right? Like every week I post about how I think we're in a short-term rental bubble. And I also post frequently about how subject to financing is a waste of time for 99% of people. Firmly believe it. I could sit here and debate everybody and probably crush everybody in this room that has a differing opinion, okay? I'm freaking serious, right? We are in a short-term rental bubble. He reaches out to me for help with that. I go, dude, like, you know, I've basically been giving a dissertation on this for the last 6 months. Like, why are you reaching out to me if you don't value my opinion? So the biggest piece of advice I can give to you guys, if you respect my opinion, you believe I know what I'm talking about, listen and do what we suggest. Don't try to do stuff on your own. Don't try to reinvent the freaking wheel. We are not trying to put a man on the moon here. This is real estate investing. This is very simple stuff. Jim talked about 6th grade math. It's math I could probably do in 1st grade, okay?
Until 6.
Yeah, it took Jim until
That's
6.
why I'm on the construction side, because
But in all seriousness, I'm joking around a little bit. You guys know I'm not always super serious, but I am serious about this though, which is that do what makes sense. And if you're here for advice, take the advice. And the biggest piece of advice I could probably give to anybody is don't try to do all this stuff on your own. Don't try to recreate the wheel. There's a reason that we created the Inner Circle, and there's a reason why Jim's up here. And even as I'm listening to him, I'm picking up new things. But I don't want to be Jim because it's going to take me 20 years to understand all of the construction stuff that he's talking about. So you guys are probably all agents, most of you at least. There's probably a couple people here who aren't. But if you're an agent and then you have a family and then you have this and then you have that, like you don't want to add, you want to add as minimal things to your plate as possible. The purpose of the Inner Circle is so that you guys can be laser focused on the stuff that you're good at. Which for agents is going out, networking, talking with people, finding deals, not learning how to be a general contractor, right? For most people in this room, there are some exceptions, I'm sure, but for most people in this room, it does not make sense for you to try to get Jim's knowledge. And it's gonna take you 20 years to get there anyways. So I wanna talk about some of the main benefits of being in the Inner Circle and why they were created. Okay, everybody knows that if you're in the Inner Circle, you can partner with us on deals. Why is it important to partner on deals? It's important to partner on deals so that you don't have to worry about the construction element. Okay, we're gonna handle 100% of that for you. If you bring us an off-market deal, we're gonna put up all the money, right? So you can never say in your life ever again, I can't do an investing deal because I don't have money. We put up all the money. We don't ask for $1 from the people that we partner with. Jim manages the entire construction project. You don't ever have to go to the construction site if you don't want to, but if you want to learn, you can. And then we deliver that product in the same way that Jim and his dad and his father delivered that project to us 10 years ago, and then you get 50% of the profits. That's one major benefit of being in the Inner Circle. Even if you fix and flip houses or you decide that you want to fix and flip houses, you're going to come across deals that you either can't do or you don't want to do. And I'll give you guys just a simple example of that. Jim, what's the furthest house right now that you're renovating?
Maybe Newport, New Hampshire,
And how far is that?
close to 3 hours,
Okay.
2:45.
So there are going to be deals. You're all agents. Who here has gotten like an out-of-state referral, right? Like somebody in New Jersey that wants to sell a house and you're like, what do I do with that? So if it's anywhere in New England, anywhere we can get to in a 3-hour radius, and it's a small project that maybe is like a $50,000 profit, most of you guys aren't going to want to be managing a project in Newport, New Hampshire. It doesn't make sense for you, your life, your business. So even if you're already fixing and flipping, it's an outlet just to do deals that you wouldn't have normally. It's also an opportunity if you have deals that you come across that you can't handle the construction. Like maybe you can handle right now paint and carpet jobs, but you can't handle full-scale renovations, whatever the case may be. But it allows you to kind of be out there and searching and hunting for deals. So not only will we partner with you if you're in the Inner Circle, but we'll also teach you how to find deals. I always ask this question because it kind of amazes me. Everybody's in this room and wants to invest. You guys are all real estate agents. How many people on their social media right now are posting on a weekly basis telling their sphere of influence, their SOI, the people that they're connected with, that they are investors? Who's here doing it on a weekly basis? Okay? I got a shake and I got PF, right? So I got one person and John lied. Okay, so John, I'm on your social media. No, I'm only kidding. You actually do some stuff, so I agree with you. John, I wouldn't know that you were an investor if I was following you. So you guys have heard the saying, don't be a secret agent, right? I'm sure like the first day you showed up to, your training 101 to be an agent, they said, don't be a secret agent. Let everybody know that you're an agent, because no one's going to remember if you don't tell them 100 times. The same thing with an investor. You guys probably already come across investor deals even without trying. Imagine if you actually tried. Imagine if all your friends and family knew you were actually out looking for these types of properties. Jim, you used to do that, right? You used to let everybody know that you were looking for deals. You didn't have any marketing budget. You didn't have anything crazy. When you were doing that and you weren't spending a lot of time on it, how many deals do you think you would get in a year just passively?
So my years, I talk about this a lot actually still, is I would do my max years, I did about 12 a year for a few years. And my other years, I would do like 2 to 4. And that was, well, I say passively, but I was aggressively talking about it every single day and asking. It's a different market. That was during the time when short sales and bank owned properties were. I'd sit there on MLS and like, all right, ready, it just popped up, I'd go. And I'm not even kidding. I would stand on the porch and people are throwing keys in the woods and I'm breaking it. Like I would never break in, but I would get in, and that was a crazy time, right? But my biggest challenge then, at that point, I was 23 years old, and I literally had zero money. And how do I get money to actually buy this thing? So once I figured out how to do that, it made the business better. And I started buying them and I started making it happen. But then I was renovating them and I couldn't find anyone. And it was a vicious cycle. And that's when we started working together a long time ago. And that's why I actually think like this program that's been put together over time now is great. A lot of these things, I'm sure everyone in here has been to all kinds of different seminars asking for a fortune and all that stuff, but not bringing any money to the deal, that would have been a home run for me when I started, because I didn't have any. I was paying people 70% on a deal. I was giving them 70% of the profit to do the deal. I would bring it, I'd renovate it and give them 70% because they didn't have the money. So I had to create a little bit of a kitty to do it.
But it's not only just that we're going to put up the money, we're going to do the construction, we're also going to go on the appointment with you. So one thing that agents make a lot of mistakes on, and I say this all the time, it's not going to be politically correct at all. It's going to be, probably every person in the room is going to get mad at me, but the reality is that most agents don't understand that they don't know how to close an investment deal. So they think because they know how to sign a listing agreement or a buyer agent that they're automatically going to go out and they're going to be able to sign an acquisition deal. I will tell you that almost every time an agent tells me they have a deal and they tell us, oh no, I'll go on my own, I don't need you, they lose it. Because they don't understand how to get that type of deal done. It's a different sale, it's a different value prop, and it's not something where you can just kind of say, hey, if you like my offer, like get back to me in a week type of thing. So because of that, we'll actually bring our sales team. I have a full-time sales team of 6 guys that can go out. Like people ask me, oh, well, how soon do I have to let you know about an opportunity? Same day. Like I have 6 people that are on the road right now. Like if you have an opportunity later today, I'll get somebody to go out there with you. That'll also teach you how we do it. So it's not even just about like getting the money and partnering and not putting up money. It's also about learning the business, learning how to do that appointment, learning how Jim does a budget, learning how we stage a property or how we market the property for sale, etc. Now, that's only one component of the inner circle, but I would say on average, every agent comes across about one of these a year. One opportunity that they can make $30,000 because the average fix and flip profit for us is $60,000. So you're going to make $30,000 for every one of these that you come across. For most people, that means you're making extra money. That's money that you wouldn't have made otherwise because you probably, in most cases, wouldn't have done that deal. And that money is just going to come to you. It's going to get paid out. If you find 2 a year, that's $60,000. But I would say on average, without putting in a ton of time, effort, and energy, you're going to stumble into one. We're also going to teach you how to do more than one. Like if you want to actually go out, market for deals, promote on social media, and do what you need to do, you can do 2 or 3 of these a year without doing a ton, right? Yep. Yeah.
Can I just interject on that a little bit? A part that I think is valuable, and not because it's my part of the bucket here, part of the business, but when I go out, say I was with Jay, right? Jay had a deal, brought me out there. Have an honest conversation when we're at the project after it's already signed, whatever, or we're getting there. Say, Jay, what was your budget? Jay's gonna say, my budget was 90 grand. Okay, here's mine. Not every time, almost every time, my budget's a fair amount less. And if it's not a fair amount less, it hasn't been over yet. Because our resources and teams are working at a smaller margin because they don't have to ever market their business or go find business. We give them business, like literally every week, like 1 or 2 a week. These guys are getting deals constantly. So they know we're not paying the most, we're not paying the least, we're paying a fair rate, but they don't have to market for it. So they run a leaner business. So their rates are lower and it adds to the profit. So if your budget, it's between 80 and 100 and I can win at 80, that's a win. The deal just made 20 grand more. And we're gonna do the same scope of work. I'm not saying that's gonna happen every time, but so far it has. Honestly, so far it's happened every time.
And the partnership piece is literally all I would need to do to say this is a great program, but there's much more to it than that. So you also get 24/7, 365 access to me through email and Facebook Messenger, lifetime coaching. So that can be with anything. Of course, that's limited to my knowledge, which is going to be sales, marketing, mostly outside of construction. But if you do need construction or legal or anything that's outside of the scope of what I know, I'm going to push you onto the resource in my company. So things that people reach out to me on a weekly basis on is like, hey, what do you think about this deal? Hey, what do you think about doing this type of marketing? Hey, how do you think I can generate more opportunities? Hey, what do you think about this type of investment? And so it's 24/7, 365 consulting, Facebook Messenger, email. I talk to people each and every week. You also get a once a month group coaching call. So sometimes people jump on the call, they have a million questions, and then sometimes people jump on the call and they kind of just listen in. But it's, again, another opportunity to get virtually face-to-face and talk about specifically what you need help with. So what I focus on is I walk people through what I call a 5-step process. The 5 steps are pretty simple. Step number 1, where are you at today? Okay, that means how much money do you have in the bank? How many hours do you have? How old are you? What are your resources? What have you done in the past? Basically an analysis of where you're at. Step 2, where do you want to be 5 to 10 years in the future? That's what you guys came here for. There's some place you want to be 5 to 10 years in the future. Some of you have a very cloudy idea of what that looks like. Some of you are very specific. But in step number 2, we actually put a dollar amount on that, right? Step number 2 isn't about cutting out pictures in a magazine and creating a vision board that you're going to look at and then forget about the next day. It's about actually knowing what life you want and how much that's going to cost you on a monthly basis. Who here knows the exact dollar amount that their dream ideal life is going to cost them on a monthly basis? One person in the whole room. So you guys have no idea how much that's going to cost you. How can you set goals, right? How can you even know what you should do every single day? Step number 3 is picking your investment vehicle. Are you going to fix and flip? Are you going to buy and hold? Are you going to do short-term rentals? Are you going to invest in Bitcoin? What are you going to do? What's your vehicle for wealth? Step number 4 is to identify the top 3 to 6 priorities that you need to be focused on. Every quarter, our team sets 3 to 6, we call them rocks, of what we need to work on in the quarter. Guess what one of mine is? One of mine is to get more deals from agents. You think I'm doing that right now? I am. That's one of my 3 to 6 rocks. One of the most important things for me right now in this quarter to build my business. Who here knows what their top 3 to 6 priorities are this quarter? The biggest problem with people who are self-employed is that nobody's telling you what to do every day. And if you don't know how to spend your time, you're not going to spend it effectively. And you can't even spend it effectively if you don't know where you want to be in 5 to 10 years and know how much that's going to cost. And step number 5 is to have a weekly scorecard. Okay, every single week, and this morning at 7:30, we go down our scorecard for our company. We say, how many appointments did we get? How many deals did we put on the market? And we look every single week to say, hey, are we on target? If we're on target for our weekly stats, we're going to be on target for our yearly goals. We're going to be on target for our 5 to 10 year goal, which is, again, can't highlight this enough. 5 to 10 years is what we want. It's what it's gonna take, by the way. Like, this, whatever you guys came here for, it ain't happening in 2023. 0% chance, okay? It's more like 2026, 27, 28. It is, if you do the right things and you know what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't know exactly what you should be doing when you're waking up and have a very clear answer, that's a problem, right? So our goal, I mean, we literally have a on the wall at our office is financial freedom through real estate sales and investing. So that's what we teach and train and coach on. And that's the stuff I talk to people about every day. And that's what we talk about on the monthly call. We talked about the monthly coaching sessions. The other thing that we have is we have systems for all this stuff. So I talked a little bit about Smart Sheets and the construction system that we use. If we have a system for something, whether it's mailing, whether it's pay-per-click, whether it's how do we scope a house, whether it's a budget calculator, whether it's a calculator to see how profitable you're going to be, all of that stuff you guys automatically have access to, okay? And if you've used some of that stuff, right? We've talked about some of that stuff, right? So we have people that are in this room that have more than implemented on some of the strategies that we've taught. Do you mind just sharing just really quickly, like, what your company is projected to do this year for flips or buying holds or whatever? Just really quick. He's like,
For number of transactions for 40.
just what you guys are up to this year in general.
Wholesaling fixed with 4 million.
4 million. Oh, geez, you went right to a. So I was just talking more general, but 4 million in revenue, and you actually were part of my coaching program in what, 2018? 2018. Was it worth it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have people in this room that are in the program that have implemented, and he's doing big things for sure. So really quick, I could kind of continue to go on and on about this stuff because I want to get back to construction. But like I said, I would say, if I could say anything, right? Working with us is a shortcut to your success. However long it was going to take you to get from point A to point B, you're cutting down on that time. If it was going to take you 15 years working with us, it might take you 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. I can't actually quote on the number of years you're going to save, but it's going to be years, right? And it's going to avoid you making mistakes. It's going to allow you to do more deals that you wouldn't have normally been able to do. So I used to charge $60,000 for this program. The reason I stopped doing that is twofold. First of all, just because somebody could cut me a check for $60,000 didn't mean they were going to do anything. When somebody cuts you a check for $60,000, they have very high expectations, and sometimes they think that by paying, that's going to get them the result. So I do want to be really clear about this. We know exactly what to do. We can help you get there, but we can't do the work for you. The biggest analogy I can give is we're basically the best personal trainers in the business. It's the analogy, Jim. So what that means is that if you show up to the gym, we're going to be able to tell you exactly what to do, how many reps, how long, etc. But you have to show up, right? So none of this stuff works if you don't. That's my disclaimer here. But it absolutely works if you put in the time, effort, and energy. So there's 2 reasons why I stopped that program. One is because it's not a pay for results system. It is a shortcut. And the second reason was I wanted to make sure that more people like myself who had no money to start had the opportunity to get in, okay? So there's 3 easy ways to get in. Number 1 way to get in, which everybody here can do and will cost you nothing, is to switch to our brokerage. We have 365 agents. Most of those people have joined our brokerage unrelated to the inner circle. Most of them have come to our brokerage because they believe in our brokerage, they like our brokerage, they like other things about our brokerage, not just the inner circle. You guys know agents vote with their feet. Vote with their feet. If we weren't delivering on our promises, we would go from 365 agents to 3 agents in about 6 months. That's the pro and the con about running a brokerage. You always have to deliver on your promises or you'll just implode, right? So we have delivered on the promises that we've made. We have great retention and we have great growth. There's a lot of great things about our brokerage, and I don't want to talk too much about that, but we have the best financials in the business, 80-20. no fees of any kind. And anytime anybody asks me that, they will throw out a fee, like, do you have E&O? No, we have no fees. 80-20 with a $20,000 cap, okay? But it actually gets better than that. Every year that goes on, your cap reduces by $2,000. So in year 1, you're at 20, year 2, you're at 18, year 3, you're at 16. Why I did that, and we're the only company in the United States that did that. I actually made this up. I was in the shower, I'm like, this would be a great idea, and then we implemented it next week. The reason I did it is because the longer somebody's with you, the more you want that loyalty. Loyalty is something that is not common in the brokerage world on both sides. And the longer that somebody's with you, I feel like the more they deserve to make. So it goes 20, 18, 16, 14, etc. So we're rewarding longevity at the brokerage. You get access to everything in the inner circle. We have training every single week. We also have open house opportunities. So we fix and flip a ton of homes. We're always looking for agents to run open houses. And I can kind of go on and on and on about the brokerage. I don't want to because you guys aren't here for that. But that's one way to get in. The second way is to invest in one of our apartment deals. It's really simple. Again, I could give a whole presentation on that. You guys are going to see one of our apartment buildings in about half an hour. If you invest $50,000 more in one of our apartment buildings, you're automatically in the inner circle. If you invest in one of our apartment deals, you're going to earn double-digit returns, okay? So if you have money in an IRA, or if you have money just sitting in the bank that you're not going to use or that you need a home for, or you wish you weren't getting a 1% rate of return in the bank, that's what that's kind of for. And the third way to get in, because I do get people saying, hey, well, I'm the broker. I can't, the broker's my best friend, and I don't have $50,000, is we've created a mechanism that says here on the sheet, it's $15,000 one-time payment. I let somebody in the other day for 10. So if anybody wants to get in that way, I'll do it for 10. And that really is my least favorite way of getting somebody into the inner circle, truthfully. I'd rather have you invest in one of our deals or join our brokerage. But I've given the $10,000 way just as a way to say, I want to make sure that everybody that wants to be a part of this can be. Right? Everybody can do one of these three things. There's no reason why somebody can't if they want to. So those are the highlights of the inner circle. Those are the ways to get in. Any questions on that before we go to a Q&A on construction? Doesn't have to be any questions, but I want to stop if there are any. And yes. Yep. It's not different because once you invest, you're automatically in the inner circle. So if you invest, you're already in the inner circle. It's the same, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are people like, don't get me wrong, there are, I would say 75% of the people who invest with us invest not to get in the inner circle. Like they're investing to get a return on their money. They like me, they probably think I know what I'm talking about, but they just have money that they want to invest and they don't want to do any of this stuff. The same thing with the brokerage. 75% of the people that join the brokerage don't want anything to do with the inner circle. They're not interested in investing for whatever reason. But we're giving that as part, for people that invest with us or, who join our brokerage. Yes.
What's the average amount of investment for your capital investor?
Oh boy, average amount of investing for the capital investor, that is so all over the map, it is crazy. I mean, for instance, my best friend has over $3 million with us. Somebody else has $50,000 with us. I would say this, in most cases, most people are going to start off doing 50 to 150, unless you're very, very high net worth and you're used to this type of investing. What I tell everybody that's thinking about investing with us is if you're not sure how much you want to do the minimum. Do the minimum. Like you can always do more later. We need to grow. We talked about this morning. How much do we need to grow our capital base by? Probably another 10 million over the next 18 months. We're going to need money for a little while. So whatever you end up doing, if you end up doing it in the beginning, you can always do more later. Once you invest with us, you can't do less a week later. So I would start lower. So the back of this has the contact information for everybody who's thinking about joining. If you are thinking about joining, what we ask is that you fill out this information and then you hand it to the back of the room. Nicole, are you gonna take it or Christina? So, yeah, the back of the room, basically where you guys checked in. If you guys fill this form out and you hand it to Christina, just so you understand, if you check off the box, hey, I'll join Cameron as an agent, we're not switching you over on MLS today. We are understanding full well that we've got to have a conversation about the brokerage. Chris is here. Chris actually is the one who you'd have the conversation with.
I switch you over today, obviously.
We can. We can. We can. We can't take your money today. Like even if you had a check for $50,000, I would not take it today. I would actually definitely have to have a longer conversation with you for you guys to understand this. But we like to make sure that if someone's going to work with us, that they know everything, the pros, the cons. Like I actually did a recruiting Zoom the other day about the pros and cons of joining Cameron. And I spent just as much time talking about the negatives as the positives. Because the mistake that I've made at some points in my career is like you don't give somebody the full picture and then all of a sudden they come over and they're not happy. Like I want to make sure that if somebody comes over, whether they invest money with us, whether they pay us a $10,000 fee, whether they join the brokerage, that they're going to be happy when they're there. So that's the conversation, really. So again, before we go back to the Q&A, any questions on the inner circle component? All right. We're going to do a 20-minute Q&A and then head over to the 88 unit. So who wants to go first? Anything, it doesn't necessarily have to be on construction. It can be on anything related to investing in general. But keep in mind that we're going to have Jim here today. You guys can get me later if you want. Yes.
For your fix and flips
Yep.
projects, you talk about an average cost per square feet for ABC. Can you give me a ballpark number for ABC level?
Shareable? So,
Sure.
so shareables, right? That's something on that part of the inner circle, but I'll give you that. I feel like that's a big nugget that we've developed. It took us a lot of time, effort, energy, experience, mistakes to create. And Calvin at the back of the room actually helped me a lot to create that a few years ago. And so on an A level, now these A, B, and C's, there's a variance on each one. So what is your level of an A might be different than what her level of an A is in the back. But A, B, and C for renovation, not new construction. An A averages in today's market, which was just confirmed maybe 5 weeks ago, that it's still accurate. Because we do this every year or so. We'll make sure our numbers will take the last 100 deals or so, average out the A's, B's, and C's, and what was our cost per square foot of that house. So right now, $90 a square foot for an A is what it's costing us. $60 for a B and $40 for a C. And then there's a few other numbers that we have as square foot numbers for the, just a clean out in the wholesale and things like that. But those are different. But A, B, and C, 90, 60, 40, those are, I think, like I'm by no means a salesperson or anything else, but that is some of the information that you get when Tom talks about the inner circle. And I feel like there's a lot of valuable pieces like that I wish I had. And again, I'm not plugging it by any means, but I mean this truly. I wish I had that when I was in 2001 when I started.
Thank you.
Well, yes.
So when you say you get it with the inner circle, when somebody's in the inner circle, where do they get it?
So everything in the inner circle starts with me, purposely. I want you guys to have an open line of communication to me, Facebook Messenger, email. Anybody who's ever sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, you guys know, I'll get back to you within like 5 minutes typically. I'm on that thing, it's just how I operate. And I always say, if you don't know where to go for something, start with me. Because I'm gonna be probably the only person in the company that knows how to get everything. And there may be cases where somebody reaches out to me and I don't know the answer, but I'm gonna get the answer. Or I'm gonna put you in touch with the person that, I need you to get to. And it's not that I necessarily, it's not that I want to create like a bottleneck with me, but I just think I'm the person that's going to be the best person to reach out to.
Anyone? Yes.
New construction, so ground up. I know we kind of had a very quick conversation about it in the past.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd be interested in partnering with in the right scenario, and what is that right scenario?
So, in general, there's exceptions to every rule, and we absolutely look at any way we can possibly make money. But in general, we're looking for two types of projects. Number one, a type of project that we can be in and out of in 90 days. The reason we want to be in and out of a project in 90 days is because of the market risk right now. And I think that the market risk is higher than it's been in a while because of where prices are at and where the economy's at. So when I fix and flip a house, I'm not as much worried about whether I make 30 or 60,000. I'm worried about the time exposure that I could have. Now, when the market was like all the way at the bottom, I felt really good about having time exposure. Like time exposure, there were multiple projects that we did that we went way over time, and we made more money because they went over time because we held the property for longer, believe it or not.
I don't know what time that often, by the way, so.
Yeah. So nowadays, when it comes to like a project, we like to do 90 or under, or we like to do a big apartment building like the one that we're doing, like the 80 units that we're going to be going to after. What we don't really love right now is like get a piece of land, build one really nice luxury single family on it because it's not in that box. So we're taking like a year to do that. The other reason why we don't love doing that, like why would you say on the construction side, why we don't love those?
Because on that small of a project, it's harder to make your electrician. You contract with him, you award him the deal, or award them the deal, right? They should then go buy all of the material. Actually, Jan and I talked about this. So that way there's no risk. They can't afford to do that. An electrician, a plumber, a framer, they can't afford to do that at that scale. They can afford to do it on an 88 unit apartment building because they're more of a scalable contractor. That's a different contractor than the one that's building that single family. So the contractor risk, the product risk, and the unknowns. The unknowns kill us on those deals, have killed us in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, we've done well on some of those as well, but that's not how our model is built right now. So if it were up to me right now, and that question was directed right to me, would you want to partner on a single family build in, this region? My opinion would probably be no.
Yeah, and I only say probably not because there's exceptions to every rule where it's like, oh, you have a piece, and this won't happen, but you have a piece of land that should be worth 300,000, you have it for 50. Like, okay, like maybe we'll talk ourselves into it, but
This is room for error there. If something did happen, the market adjusts slightly, we have that cushion. Yes, and there's a strong upside.
But the other thing I'll say is this, like, I would say in general, most agents who are in the inner circle almost never bring me deals that we don't want to do. Like, most of the stuff that people come across in their day-to-day activities is the bread and butter stuff that we want to do. If you ever come across something that's outside of the bread and butter stuff that we do, we will help you figure out a way to make money on it. If you have a face-to-face seller appointment with somebody who's selling land, and it's a deal that we don't want to do, like, we'll try to find somebody for you that might want to do that deal. So there's other options and other resources that we have that even if we don't want to do it, we might have 5 other people that do want to do it. You had a question?
I mean, so, yeah, we were thinking unknown, so something, I know, there's like a single on it now, but there's other, like, much bigger. There, I think with variants, that's really possible. On it, was that too much?
That you can do what with it?
Well, because you have to get variants, probably to build more, but it's a big piece. It's a big piece of land that's helpful.
So- So it's almost the same answer to your question, which is like, don't think, if you're in the inner circle, don't think, hey, is this something they'd want to do? Just bring it to me. We don't need anyone to analyze anything. Like, hey, I have this off-market blah, blah, blah. If it's off-market and not everyone in the world has access to it, I would like to at least look at it. I mean,
The ones that fail, like the ones that fail your test, and,
well, so there's two things that people bring to us, right? If they, fail our test per se. Sometimes people bring us stuff that doesn't make money. Like, I don't care who you are. This is not a deal for anybody. If it's not a deal for anybody, God can't save you, right? That's about half the stuff that I get brought, right? It's stuff that like it's not a money making thing. It's kind of like, hey, we have this, it's a 900 square foot lot. Like, what if you could get like 60 units straight up in the air? It's like, but you can't. And that's half the stuff, right, that we get. The other half that we pass on is stuff like, oh, it just doesn't fit within our box. That's the stuff we're going to help you with. But even with saying that, like somebody bringing us something that doesn't make any sense, like that's an education piece for that person, right? Why doesn't this deal make sense? We're going to explain to you why it doesn't make sense, why nobody can make money on it. There's no issue with you guys bringing us a bad deal. We don't expect you to even know. You might know, but we don't expect you to know when you bring us something. We want, talking about the weekly scorecard, I have a weekly scorecard number that says how many appointments did agents bring you this week. So I want as many of those as I can get. Doesn't matter whether they're good or bad, just bring them to me. Some of them are going to pan out. Yeah, straight back. Hi.
So you're talking about the scope about the line item, the digital sheet. How do you know how much each item will cost? Is something you know, or does the sheet actually calculate it for you?
So, two pieces. The way I do it is I know how much it costs, right? So I know if I'm doing maybe a low level B or a C level product, which is most of the projects, by the way, most A's don't make money. Most of the time, an A product doesn't make money unless you're in Lexington or Winchester. You're in a better area than maybe Marblehead. But so I know that laminate flooring installed is costing me X per square foot, and I have 2,000 square feet. I have a good idea what that's going to cost me, right? Just doing the math as I'm going through, but most of it is paint, plaster, fixtures, plumbing fixtures, price per fixture. So if I'm replumbing the house because all the cast iron is pitted and rotted and leaking, okay, now I have to think permitting. So I have a line item comments. Yes. I also will now add timeline to that because I have 30 days to wait for that permit, that I'm standing there, lack of a better term, not doing it. I'm standing there waiting and I'm trying to paint things that I can get torn apart in that 30 days, so I can just get that one sheet. So I add a month or so to that.
How would you suggest when I'm doing flips? How
Yep.
would you suggest that I don't know the difference?
Step one, get in the inner circle.
I am.
Okay.
You are, okay.
Step two, come to us.
Yeah.
Like,
Mine is really far off Maine, so I need that to go.
So I was in Maine yesterday. I was 3 hours north of Maine.
Oh.
But not that I want to go there again today, but I was in yesterday. I
well,
was in
but hold on though. Do you need to go to a house?
I don't. Send me some pictures and I can give you, I gotta work on these, but my close to the pin, like, I can give you, I think, a very close number. We're usually not far off, and I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, because we do so many. I know what the current costs are.
So
And use that.
So one thing, like, if you're in the inner circle, like, do not be shy about utilizing us as a resource. Like, that could be something that like could take him 5 minutes to do.
Yeah, I would like to answer your question by saying, on that, how big's the house?
Well, the one I'm looking at now is a two-family in the front and a single in the back.
So a little more of a complicated deal, right? But let's say that single family in the back's 1,000 square feet. In Maine, I would say keep your budget around 40, 45 grand is where you should need to be for an overall cosmetic renovation. I was like, you're crazy, that's low, right? 100% can do it. 100% can. Unless there is something insane going on in that house or something, you should be able to do that for 40, 45 grand. And if that number's not gonna work for you, okay, start saving things. Start peeling back. The roof is, I can save it, not really a place to save, but I can save it, 'cause I have to. That's gonna save me 12 grand, okay. keep going.
Yeah, I
Sure.
had to buy dumps when I'm in there, so it's so cheap, so.
Yeah.
Me and, I
Yeah, so those items, you know, I have cost per fixture that I use for plumbing, electrical.
But we also, I mean, we can send you like we can send you if you wanna like, I mean, yes, utilize us, but if you want the actual documents, we can send you that too. And again, like going back, you know, to your question, like how do you get them? Ask me. You know, I came to the event, you told me you would give me this, can I have it? Yes, we'll get it for you.
thank you.
Have you guys looked at, opportunities converting office space into residential? It seems to be there's a lot of vacancy in office space right now.
So-
The B and C level.
Yeah, the building we're gonna go to shortly,
Yes.
previously was office space. And it's gonna be 88 plus units, it's under construction. And, you know, that obviously, as the person behind said, that takes zoning variances process to get there. That's a timely process. And you know, left arm to get there through all municipalities. I know Jay's going through one now. It's a tremendous amount of work to get there. But yes, in certain areas of certain towns, they're promoting that. They'll have an overlay district that they're allowing to rezone. So yeah, that's a great opportunity.
But you know, to add a little bit of color to that comment, it's interesting because we're talking about doing like 3 different types of projects, right? We're talking about doing single family fix and flips and, you know, rental turnovers and then big deals. So people will say to me like, well, how do you find like great big deals? The great big deals are actually easy. And I'm gonna tell you why, because there's limited competition. So for example, on the deal we're gonna bring you guys to, in order for us to pull off that deal, we needed all of these things to work. Number one, I had to raise $4 million for that deal. That deal is fully funded, it's raised. I had to come up and raise $4 million. Actually, we actually put up the $4 million, then we raised it out. So we had to have $4 million of liquid capital and additional side capital, right? So that knocks out a lot of people. Then we had to have the ability to get a loan. So just because you have the money, a lot of commercial entities, a lot of commercial banks, like they're not gonna give you a loan if you don't have a track record, right? So a doctor could have a really high net worth, and then if he goes, hey, I want a renovating 88-unit building, bank's gonna be like, you have no track record, I'm not giving you the loan. You have to have the track record, relationships, like we've had banking relationships for 15 years now, and then the ability to like just pull off the construction. So when you like add all those things up, almost nobody can do these deals. It's a very fractional amount of people. So like we don't have to go out scouring. Like yes, we do like having these deals brought to us and we analyze them, but there's more deals out there than there is the ability to like get the deals down.
In that 40 to 100 window, even that 20 to 100 window of unit counts of doors, there aren't a lot of people doing those. You have the people that can do the, you know, the 4-unit, 6-unit, maybe even like 8 or 12, and that kind of caps a lot of people that are, you know, decent net worth, have a good portfolio, and that's usually the cap. And then it goes to institutional, which is like 100, 150 minimum unit count and above, and that's your travelers insurance, you know, companies like that are using it as a product that's, you know, that they're parking money. So the other, you know, competitive area that Tom's talking about is very unique, and based on the one we just finished in Wakefield was also office space primarily. It was mixed use, but it was primarily office space and we had that coming too. Is there any other questions? Yes, sir, in the blue in the back.
Yeah, how you doing? I was wondering if you could make any suggestions on where you might find like flip investments for somebody that's looking to do 1, 2, 3 flips, you know, and other than just Zillow.
Where to find fix and flip deals?
Right.
Yep. So there's 2 things that you need to consider out of the gate. There's only 2 ways to get deals: spending money or spending time. So the first thing you need to consider is, am I going to spend money doing marketing, or am I going to spend time? On average, it costs us about $15,000 in marketing, doing things like mailers and pay-per-click to get one deal where we're going to make $60,000 on. When I say that, 95% of people say, tell me how to do the time part. And I get it. It's very expensive to get deals by spending money, and most people don't feel comfortable even if they have the money. If you do feel comfortable spending the money, then we would talk about like what types of deals are you trying to buy? How do you set up a list? How do you mail to them? Or should you be cold calling or whatever you should be doing? The second way to find deals is by spending time. There's only a few things that you can do to generate deals by spending time. One I'm doing right now. I'm in a group of agents telling every agent that I want a deal. That's a free way to do it. You've got to get the agents, help them understand and create a value proposition for them as to why they should bring you a deal. Our thing is we're going to split the profits to 50-50, okay? But there's a lot of other arrangements that you can have. You need to get the deals off market, Zillow, MLS, pretty much garbage. Or you could look and you could build a list yourself. You could door knock, cold call, cold text. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't do, I talked about being a secret agent. Most people don't utilize their sphere of influence to try to find deals. So you said like 3 or 4 a year. Are you an agent?
Yeah.
Do your clients know you're looking for deals?
Not necessarily.
Right. So nobody knows you're looking for a deal in the whole world. Deal's not going to come to you. And I'm not saying that as a joke or to be funny, but it's like literally like just a kind of a crazy statement in general that like people are out looking for deals, but nobody knows they're out looking for deals. I take deals from agents that agents don't even know I took from them. So when we market or we go on a face-to-face seller appointment, almost every time they say, hey, I'm either going to sell to you or I'm going to list with my friend. Who do you think they call first? They call me first. Why do they call me first? Because if they're going to sell to me, they don't want their friend to know they're not going to list with them. So I get a call, hey, there's John, he's my best friend. If I list, I'm going to go with him. But if I sell direct, I'm going to go to you. What if John could do both? They don't know John can do both because John never told them they can do both. Probably the biggest mistake for agents that want to be investors is that they don't let people know that they're also investors.
I think there's another.
Yeah, I got a question. So you mentioned the budget, but what about schedule? So do you meet with contractors, keep them schedule up on it?
So I meet with, so when I do the scope of work, I put a timeline on that, so I'll stamp that with a timeline. Then when I do the contract work in the beginning, when we're doing the assignment, and I say an assignment, not assigning a contract that you guys are thinking about, assigning a contractor that project. When I'm going in there to assign that contractor, that's when we talk about the timeline. That's something I give them on purpose, the ownership of. I know what my timeline is, say it's 90 days, just for example. I say, how long is it gonna take you to do the job? Your budget's $63,000, how long is it gonna take you? They wanna do that as fast as they can, because they get that 63 grand. They can do it, I give it to them tomorrow if they're done. If it drags out 5 months, they didn't make any money. So, at that time, they'll tell me, you know what, I think I can do it in 5 weeks. I say, awesome, why don't I give you 5-6 weeks? Why don't I'll put 6 weeks on the contract. You think you do 5, things happen, whatever, rainy days, I'll put 6 weeks on the contract. Now I've helped them, right? I've given them more time. They own their number because they give it to me. I didn't assign them the timeline to them. They assigned the timeline to me. I agreed, I gave them a little bit of buffer because it's realistic. And now they own that and they are driving to that timeline. And I help to remind them. Hey, by the way, I set an alert through Smart Sheets and everything. I set an alert that 2 weeks before their timeline, I get an alert. So I say, hey, just a reminder, you have a lot of work to do when you have 2 weeks left on your timeline. And I put a per diem charge in the contract. No contract is it? I don't actually charge them that per diem unless they did it maliciously. So if they abandon the job, they're getting charged the per diem and they're getting some legal letters. But I don't charge them that per diem unless they did it on purpose. If they made an honest mistake, making honest effort to get the job done, and they're a week or two over, we work together, right? The timeline, the project's due in 2 weeks. I love that. So that way they have ownership of the project. They're excited about it. They want to hit their timeline.
Yeah, and I know you guys are going to have more questions. I want to make sure we are keeping on time over to the 88 unit. Jim will be there, so there's going to be an opportunity to continue to ask questions. But before we go, I just want to kind of leave before we go with this. for those of you who are listening, you're like, hey, like I'm pretty serious, or I think I really want to invest in real estate. Make sure you fill out this form. Don't leave today thinking, hey, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this the next week. We all know what procrastination ends up doing. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Like if you guys think that you can benefit from being in the inner circle, fill out the form, give it to the person in the back, and it's all it's gonna do is it's gonna create a conversation between us and you to determine whether or not it even makes sense to be in the inner circle and the benefits that we have and how it could be, a mutually beneficial relationship. Like I said, the biggest piece of advice I could give anybody in real estate investing is don't do this on your own. It's a team sport. It requires a lot of different areas of expertise. It is not, putting a man on the moon. It's not super complicated, but at the same time, one bad deal can put you out of business. So working with us is going to prevent that from happening because we're going to be looking over your shoulder at everything that you're doing. It's also going to make sure that you know when you wake up every day, what should I be focused on? Which is, like I said, probably the number one thing, the blessing and the curse of being self-employed. Nobody's telling you what to do, but on the other hand, nobody's telling you what to do. So we will head over now to the Harry Hanger building. Does anybody not know like directions or how to get there or anything like that? Address? All right, a couple people. Do you have the actual address?
110 East Hollis Street, Nashua.
110 East Hollis in Nashua. And if for whatever reason you walk out the door and you're like, oh my goodness, I lost it, just remember the Harry building.
Henry Hanger.
Henry Hanger building, if you put that into Google, it'll pop up with the address.
So that's 110 East Hollis Street, Nashua. When you pull up to the property, it's a giant brick building.